Hi everyone, Rangers Review here to review another Rangers defeat at Ibrox. We are positioned the opposite way to why we normally record, Stevie, because
Because I'm having to stand on a step because
yeah,
Josh was like 6 odd foot and foot none,
yeah,
just like most of our team.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
great.
There you go. We're going to discuss Rangers 1, Motherwell 2, almost exactly a year on, Stevie, actually, from the game here under Philippe Clement, where Rangers' title, and you could say Philippe Clement's time at the club, started to fall apart. Barrie Ferguson has just been speaking in his press conference, and he was pretty measured. Still, he says he still retains kind of hope that he can get better out of this group. We'll get on to the game as a whole and a few different specifics, but I think first and foremost, Stevie, we've seen that performance so many times this season. A total again. Every time you think the nadir or the lowest point's been hit, it kind of comes again. And to me, at full time, as some of the Rangers players were walking around that pitch, it just felt like this is a club that has been hollowed out
Mm.
for so long, and performances like that have. There's just been so many. It's the Rangers' sixth defeat of the season, but there wasn't much surprising about that today at all.
No, I mean, look, players are on their knees. The club is on its knees at the moment, and this is just how bad's it really going to be before we get to the summer? And we've got Fenerbahce twice, and then Celtic. You know, you would say looking at that, it's going to get a lot worse. Barry Ferguson was quite honest, wasn't he? He says if you turn in a performance like that, you'll get thrashed, and that's the truth. So there's no hiding place. We know this is a difficult place to come. We know it's a difficult place to come and play in. I was going to say sorry, but you know they're just not offering anything. That first half, they looked completely devoid of confidence. They looked like they hadn't seen a football before. It was nothing to do with the shape or the style. It was a quite rigid 4-4-2. You could see what they were doing, but I mean, in terms of actual performances, after 30 minutes, we're actually sitting up there going, he could take off this back four again.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was a mess. Too many players are not physical enough. The problem is the way he wants to play and he wants to zip it about and have it fast, Joshua, is that we don't have a good first touch. You know, like it comes to players and they're taking 2-3 touches, or they're out of position. At times the goals all come from individual mistakes. And it's just not good enough. But are you really surprised? Because I'm not.
No, no. I just think there's been so many times, you watch a football game and you sometimes just think there's actually just nothing there.
Yeah.
There's been so many times this season where you've watched Rangers and thought it. I mean, Barry Ferguson said quite a lot in his post-match press conference. Two things that stood out was he said Rangers fans will accept sometimes if you don't have a good game, they won't accept being another team runs over the top. He said Motherwell dominated us in that first half, got something of a reaction in the second half. Motherwell raced into a 2-goal lead. Bad mistake from Jack Butland after Cyril Dessers had tried to carry the ball out of the box. A bad mistake for James Tavernier to give the ball up cheaply, and Jeffrey switched off for the second goal. There was to be no fight back like we saw at Rugby Park on Wednesday. And I guess Stevie, Barry Ferguson spoke yesterday about Rangers' issue is they can't really dominate teams. I'm not quoting him directly, but that's in effect what he was saying. Another example of that today, where I thought Motherwell, they were aggressive at points, and they've obviously got a new manager too, but they weren't made to feel that uncomfortable. And I know there was a little bit of a reaction from Rangers in the second half, but that's the third game they've lost here at home. This is a team that doesn't look comfortable under these demands, under this crowd, under the expectation of it. Is that fair?
Yeah, coupled with the fact that there's a lot of them playing here that aren't good enough. You know, Philip Clement was rightly criticised, but at what point do you look at the job that Niels Coppin's done? In recruitment has not been good enough. They're recruited for Europe, which is probably why we play so well there. But for the physical demands of this league, I'm not sure we are. And, you know, there's a lot wrong at this club at the moment, and we're all riding on the fact that praying to, you know, that this takeover is going to go ahead, and that's where we are, because this club is on life support at this very moment in time in terms of performances on the pitch and things that are happening off it. And I don't think you're going to get a tune out of these players. For Barry, it's just going to be a case of, which he alluded to, and I asked him, I mean, how do you fix this? Because it's a recurring theme. He knows it's a recurring theme, so does he have an idea? And he basically said this all comes down to injuries.
Yeah.
And can we get back John Suter? Can we get Leon Balogun back playing a full 90 minutes? Can we get Dujon Sterling in that at least then adds some physicality to that team. Can you get, would Oscar Cortez make a difference, because that left hand side is chronic.
Can I put something to you then? As you take a moment, I think you're right. A wider conversation about recruitment. The Rangers don't look like a team who they don't have. Maybe they're not physically imposing enough. Okay, but parking that for a second, is it also not a bit of a concern today that Rangers have been trying to change over the course with the age that they recruit players, have been trying to bring down the average age of the squad? Is it not a bit of concern that you have in Ciala and Fernandez not in the squad today, if you're thinking ahead to next season, and then you have Rice and Curtis on the bench when you're bringing on Lawrence, who's out of contract, Balogun's obviously out of contract as well? Is there a risk, Stevie, that we get into this cycle of Rangers trying to get results over the next few months while that's ultimate? It's kind of futile because it's short term. It can't.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely right, and it's a fair comment. I think it's completely fair. Tom Lawrence is a puzzling one because Clement was throwing him on last week as well, and it's, Tom Lawrence isn't staying. We know contractually that he's on far too much money to stay here as well. It's the same as Yanis Hadji, but you can only really play with the tools you've got. Should he start Bailey Rice? Should he start Finlay Curtis? It's really difficult to throw young players in and expect, but we were saying the same thing as under Clement, that maybe they should get a chance if others weren't doing it. So I'm not going to stand here and say that, but Barry's had them for 2 hours on the training pitch, as he says himself. He's got to try and do something. He's got to try and get results that then breed some sort of confidence going into this double header against Fenerbahce and then the games against Celtic. So is it a bit short-termism? Yeah, I would think it probably is. But, on the other hand, what's he supposed to do?
Yeah,
it's a no-win situation, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's not like I think when you're saying there, how do you fix this? You can't fix this in 3 this.
No,
what is it?
When I talk about fix this, I mean, how do you make these results go away?
Go away.
Short-termism, he can't fix it. He
No.
can only, like he basically said, he can only deal with what he's got. Yeah. And the question was put to him: does this squad lack physicality and all that? Barry knows that. He more or less said it, but how does he fix it? He can't. He fix it short term, but how does he fix it on the pitch? We are looking for what's his response going to be? Well, he told you his response. Yeah. The injured players that are out, more or less, as soon as they come back in, they're out there. Yeah. So I understand that completely, but looking forward to ahead of next season, we've repeated this thing. For the last 3-4 years where we rebuild in the summer. This isn't a rebuild in the summer. This is a complete and utter restart. Because you look at that team out there today, there's not many that are staying. It's harsh truth. Yeah, it is harsh truth.
But then the other harsh truth in response to that is if you get caught. I still think there's players out there. I still think there's good players. I think the risk you also get now is in this 3 months. Some of the young players that were. It was only a couple of months ago that. We were reporting about the interest that Chelsea had expressed in Sheffield. Okay, maybe today isn't the best example to highlight that. And Iniga, man, my point is that it's not as if I don't think the squad is in the exact same place as last year because of the age. Mm-hmm. But I agree with you that it still needs a lot of work done. But my point is, if Rangers always go back to the start, and I do think that's why I bring up the young players point, because I think the club did kind of have a decision here to make over the next 3 months, and it went something like, are we going to play players who are out of contract in the summer or not? I think you have to be more ruthless in relation to that, because what's the benefit? But I accept there's so much work still to be done in terms of the quality that the manager, whoever it is, has at his disposal.
Would it be fair then to say that perhaps once you get Fenerbahce out the way and Celtic out the way, depending on how they go, and you're looking at the season then becoming a complete damp squib, and you've basically got 8 games maybe left, something like that. Yeah. That's the point where he might then say, well, these players won't play again for me. But obviously it's not going to be a complete restart in the summer. But you're looking at, in previous years it's been 8 in and stuff like that, Joshua. I think you could be looking in the summer of needing, dozen in, dozen out kind of standards, and that's where it becomes really problematic, because if you get a dozen in and out, they've got to. You're talking about 8 or 9 of them have got to be instant wins, and we're in such a horrible cycle that how much money will there be to spend? Will this takeover go through? We're confident and hopeful it will. That's got to be the shot in the arm that this football club needs, because at the moment today St Mirren, Queen's Park have become a normality for this squad and this place. And you're trudging through to the summer, like it or not, and just praying that something sticks, that somebody gets a run of form. And you talk about Egaman, we talk about Jeffrey, both are completely off form, both look like they've run into the ground in terms of they've never played this amount of games either. So
no, and they need help from the senior players.
They do.
But the issue is, same as I think in Seattle to a degree, as soon as these guys break in, because of the state of the squad, so much is put on their shoulders, and you're right. Jeffrey's not played this or Egaman this much football before at this level. So to take it forward, just finally, Fenerbahce away on Thursday, Fenerbahce here next Thursday. Realistically, Rangers have saved their best football for Europe. It's a new manager now, so who knows if that is retained. It's going to be really difficult.
Listen, Barrie said, if you perform like that, you will get a thrashing, and that's the truth. We go to Fenerbahce, and it's going to be the same kind of standard of Olympiacos, but I would say probably a bit worse, but it's the same kind of atmosphere and everything else. You could get swallowed up there. They need to remain in the game somehow. And then you come back to Ibrox hoping. But if you get as exposed as... I mean, Mourinho will look at these videos the last couple of weeks, and I can only hope he does. And by the time we come up against them, the Souters and Balligans of this world are fit, because I'm afraid I'd be taking Jeffy out of the left-back position as well. Ridvan is not a massive upgrade, but I think at the moment, you play what odds you have. Do you put Jeffy further forward? That's maybe not a bad idea. And do you have both of them playing? Because in terms of Ridvan against Tottenham, he played further up, and both of them defended well enough at left back. So with both of them helping, but it's just, look, at this point, somebody says you're rearranging, deck chairs in the Titanic a wee bit, and it's difficult, isn't it? But there's no obvious solution. I can't offer one. I'm hoping that the guys coming back will make a difference, but if you don't stand up in the next couple of games, you will get swallowed whole, and then you go to Parkhead, and they have the potential in that game for it to be as painful as they really want to. And yes, we can beat them, and yes, we've matched them the last couple of games. I think that's fair, but you go to Parkhead, and they're looking at potentially going 19 points clear of us and completely rubbing our faces in it. They'll look to do that, and we're going to find out in the next couple of weeks just how tough it can be, because I think it's going to get worse before it gets better, and we have to strap ourselves in for the last couple of months, because there's been so many decisions that have got us to this point where you're just at this moment where you're just like, could the season be over as quickly as possible?
Yeah. I mean, you're saying that in the first day of March. I think it's the first day of March. Tells you what type of season Rangers have had. We'll leave it there. We'll, of course, be back all next week. We'll be over in Istanbul for the game to bring you all your Rangers coverage. Until then, enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll speak to you at 9:30 on Monday morning, and goodbye for now.